So today's video I'm going to be redrawing some of my old art, and it's kind of cringy, to be honest. So here's my old art. I didn't have a tablet at the time I drew this, so I had scanned my pencil sketch in, used a mouse and colored it on GIMP, which is like Photoshop but free. And all considering that was like one of my first attempts, it's not too bad, right? But as you can see, like the eyes are pretty scary. I don't know what to do with the nose. The skin coloring is not quite right, but I'm trying to do some cool things with like pastel colors. I'm trying to do something interesting with the composition. But yeah, I think I can do better now. And here are some of the things that I have learned that have helped me improve from where I started like this approximately 10 or so years ago. So, first thing that has helped me improve immensely is when I started to use references in my drawings. I was very heavily influenced by manga and anime when I was in middle school and high school in my art, and that was really all I referenced. And the thing is, when you reference manga and anime, like, they don't draw, okay, they have lines for noses, right? So, of course, I didn't know how to draw a nose. There was nothing, I didn't look at any actual noses to try to draw noses. So, using a reference will really, really, really help you learn and improve more quickly if you want to have a realistic or even a semi-realistic style like I do. And I've never been that interested in pursuing photorealism or even just realism. I've always wanted to put my own spin on things, but in order to put my spin on things, I have to know what they look like in the existing world to begin with. So I found a photo on Pinterest that has a similar pose to the original piece that I was going for, and I'm using that to reference some of the shadows and the highlights and the way that the proportions on her face are interacting in this specific angle. Another thing that I learned was to paint on top of the line art, which you can see me doing right now. And I don't really have line art, I just draw a sketch and then I start painting on top of it. And that developed mostly because I hate line art. Not that I hate what it looks like, I just hate doing line art. For some reason, I just get bored of it very quickly. And, but before that, I used to just paint, I used to sketch in my, scan in my sketch, color underneath it, and then never put anything on top of the line art because that was the only way that I was able to define edges. But in real life, we don't have lines. The way that we can tell what an edge is the it's like where a light color and a dark color meet. That's how we see like the edge of something. And if you're going for a more cartoony stylistic style, that's fine, right? That makes sense. But that's not what I was going for. I wanted something more painterly, and it made having the liner on top of my painted forms just made the whole thing seem more flat. And I think I learned this when I was taking this oil painting class in college. which really forced me to not rely on line art so much and to think about how I was going to communicate certain forms without that crutch, essentially. And another thing I learned in that class was to treat your canvas the same, no matter if it's this corner or this corner of the canvas that doesn't really have much action going on, or if it's the eyes, the eyeballs. Because a tendency that I had, and I think that a lot of beginning artists have, is they'll like draw their line art, they spend like 2 hours coloring in the eyeballs, and then they paint everything else in, and then they'll look at the piece and be like, oh, I should throw a background in there, and then just whip a background in there, which is essentially what I did. But your art ends up looking exactly like how my art looks like, which was, oh, it looks like they just slapped a background at the end. So you'll notice that I am now painting the foreground and the background all on the same layer. And that is mostly to make it seem like it is one piece. And I encourage you to try doing that with your portraits as well. Don't slap on a color at the end. Include yet that background color into the rest of your work. So I hope you learned something from my beginner mistakes. And I think the original image took me about 3.5 hours to do, and this redraw took me about 2 hours. And feel free to disagree, but I think the new version is a million times better. Let me know if you have any questions or what you'd like to see next in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.